Okay, so far we have discussed about various things, including motor, including sensory, including cognitive, perceptual, communication, speech, swallowing. All these functions, they are similarly impaired for stroke patients as they are for TBI, that is traumatic brain injury. Now that we learned about direct impairments, we are moving to indirect impairments, that is also termed as secondary impairments. Because of the disease, this is not happening, but because of the disease, some symptoms are happening because of immobilization, because of not able to move or maintaining a single posture for a prolonged period of time. Indirect impairments happen. Yes, these we have already discussed in stroke. The same we will continue here. So the soft tissue contractures. Contractures means for a muscle, when it remains in shortened period, there are changes in the structure of the muscle. Basic structure is sarcomere. So sarcomere, the number of sarcomeres decrease, as well as the size of the sarcomere also decreases. Also, there have been instances where it becomes irreversible to lengthen the muscle. The elasticity of the muscle is lost completely. Muscle જે normally elongate થઈને range of motion allow કરે એ loss થઈ જશે. Yes, permanently. That is when we term it as contracture. If it is reversible, it is tightness. If it is not reversible, it is contracture. So if it is reversible, it is tightness, you can improve it by stretching protocols, but for contractures you have to go for surgery directly, and then you can go for stretching. Skin breakdown happens, which is also termed as decubitus ulcer. All the bony prominences in the body, they specifically have tendency to form pressure over the part, and the skin will break at that part, starting from the head where the occiput is the bony prominence to the heel, calcaneum, which is a bony prominence. So here all the regions that are and the patient's position specifically is as such that the bones come in contact and they create pressure over the skin and cause the breakdown of the skin, which is also termed as pressure ulcer or decubitus ulcer. DVT, deep vein thrombosis, our calf muscles are also termed as the peripheral heart. So when the heart is not able to pump, or we can say from calf muscle does not pump the blood, venous return from the legs to the heart, the blood remains stasis at a single point. एक ने एक जगह stasis रहते हैं. Because of this, there are chances of formation of thrombus in the deep veins. That is what is deep vein thrombosis. This thrombus can dislodge from that part, then become embolus, and later on damage directly may go to the pulmonary or cardiac or the brain and cause various signs and symptoms. It may create secondary stroke, may create heart attack, that is myocardial ischemia and infarction, or in pulmonary it can cause pulmonary hypertension. Heterotrophic ossification. Heterotrophic ossification specifically means deposition of calcium in the muscles. Yes, because of, say for example, there is an injury to the bone and nearby muscles get calcified, that is termed as heterotrophic ossification. To confirm heterotrophic ossification, you need to see the x-ray of the bone and the muscles, and in the x-ray you will be able to see a part of the muscle that has been ossified. Yes, so that is how heterotrophic ossification works. Mainly it happens because of overstretching, of few muscles, and mainly it happens in two joints, hip joint and elbow joint. Yes, so remember, do not overstretch neurological patients muscles, specifically proximal joints. You do it in the distal joints, small joints, that is fine, but never do it for proximal joints, overstretching. Decreased bone density. According to the Hull's law, as you already know, if the patient is not having gravity, or if the patient is not exercising with proper weight, then the bone density starts to decrease. That is the Hull's law. We have already studied this in your previous semester. According to that, if the patient is immobile, if there is no muscle activity, patient is paralyzed, not doing anything, at that time bone density decreases. Muscle atrophy, our body follows one important rule: use it or lose it. Yes, we either use it and develop it, or we lose the muscle. So if the patient is immobilized for a prolonged period of time, we are going to lose the part, and hence we will be able to see muscle atrophy. The girth of the patient's side that is affected, may that be bilateral also, muscle atrophy will be there, muscle girth will decrease. Decrease endurance, strength, power and endurance all become normal only and only with you can say normally sarcomere, or the physiological changes that are present in the muscle, because they become atrophied because of the contractures and change in the structure of the muscle, the strength, power and endurance also changes, and infections are common, specifically urinary tract infection and upper respiratory tract infection. Urinary tract infection, UTI, and upper respiratory tract infection, URTI, both are common in patients. Pneumonia is one such common symptom or common disease that you can find in patients with traumatic brain injury. Overall, it is present in all the patients who are hospitalized for prolonged period of time. Yes, overall it is commonly seen in hospitalized patients. Coming to prognosis and goal setting. Yes, what should be the prognosis of TBI, sequel of TBI, and what should be the goals for the patient, for a neurophysician, and for even a physical therapist point of view. So the prognosis is measured on GCS, Glasgow Coma scale, duration of coma and length of post-traumatic amnesia, PTA. Yes, so for how long the patient is not remembering that what had happened, how it, retrograde amnesia specifically, duration of coma, for how long, we talked about 2 to 4 weeks is common, up to 1 month the patient may be in coma, then it or he or she should be commonly come out of, but if they don't, that means it will be a poor prognosis. And Glasgow Coma scale, as we had already diversified the severity, we have seen very severe, moderate, and minimal type of injuries or traumatic brain injuries. Coma more than 2 weeks and amnesia more than 12 weeks means it will be moderate to severe disability. So if a patient remains in coma for more than 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, and amnesia remains for more than 12 weeks, so that is around 3 months. If amnesia remains, then we can say the patient will be having moderate to severe disability. Disability is physiologically patient has lost some function. In this case, it will be brain function. Brain will not be able to regain normal level that it was before. Coma less than 1 week and amnesia less than 4 weeks is moderate disability or good recovery. Yes, so more than 2 weeks coma and 3 months more than amnesia is bad. Coma less than 1 week and amnesia less than 4 weeks, less than a month, that is a sign of good recovery. Evaluation happens on various things. These are the areas that we look into for the patient and then decide if the patient will have a better prognosis or not. So first is level of impairment. The important difference between impairment and disability is only one. Impairment means loss of a structure and disability means loss of a function. Yes, say for example, my thumb is cut right now. Yes, my first CMC is completely removed because of any reason. I the thumb. Yes, so impairment will be loss of thumb. But what is the function that I'm losing? I will not be able to grasp things more easily. So that is my disability. Impairment is always related to anatomical structures. Disability is always limited to physiological functions. Second, degree of functional loss. Yes, so first was impairment related to what anatomical structure is impaired. So here it will be brain. Degree of functional loss. So because of the structure that is involved, brain, which functions the patient will not be able to do. So that is functional loss. Third, potential discharge destination. That is in which or when do we wish to patient to get discharged, or when the patient is coming to you after discharge, what time of hospitalization was needed for him to be hemodynamically stable. Social support system, where the patient lives, is there social support circle available or not? How the family members are acting towards the patient, that all play a very important role in prognosis or evaluation. Living environment, yes, you might need to modify the environment, you might need the patient to use a wheelchair initially or cane or anything, and accordingly modify the environment for such. Yes, if steps are there and you want to use wheelchair, that is not feasible. You have to make a ramp so that the patient's wheelchair can easily move on that. Patient's overall health. Right now, when you are seeing the patient, may that be a neurophysician or a physical therapist, will have to know if the patient is permanently or right now the patient is completely stable or not. At least the vitals are stable or not. Yes, if the vitals are not stable, you are not moving forward for the diagnosis also. So all these things together will let you know what is the current situation of the patient and what will be the prognosis of the patient. Glasgow scale, we had already described about this. So eye-opening, verbal response, and motor response, three main domains in which there are 4, 5, and 6 markings. For eye-opening, it is none. That is, when you ask the patient, it will not do. When you pinch the patient, they will not do. So if they do one pinch approach on patient naak khol se, so that is 0.2. If on command you try to do it, the patient does it, that is command, that is 3 to voice, and 4 is spontaneously without telling. Also right now even you will be blinking, so that is spontaneous. Yes, so it is normal. For verbal response, if the patient is not responding anything, whenever you ask, whenever you talk to them, they are not responding, that is silent, that is 1. Incomprehensible sounds, ha, na, ha, okay. Atlu bolu, yes, that is 2. Inappropriate words, using words but which are inappropriate to what you are asking, so that is 3. Confused, yes, does not know what to say, when to say, how to say, that is 4. And oriented is normal. Yes, you are oriented right now. I am oriented, that is why I am able to speak of these things. Motor response, no movement. When you ask the patient to do, when you pinch the patient, there is no movement. That is 1, grade 1. Abnormal extension, whenever you try to pinch the patient, there is always extension of the limb where you are doing it. Abnormal flexion, always the response is of flexion. 4, that is, it withdraws. The patient withdraws the hand from where you are pinching. Yes, withdrawal may be in flexion or extension side or even in abduction, if you are doing it in upper limb or lower limb specifically. Always try to pinch on the parts which are not too distal, not too proximal. Do not use shoulder, do not use wrist. Use the forearm and the arm where you can pinch, and the pinch should be as such, it should be tolerable. Yes, you should not pinch so much that the patient starts to bleed. Yes, so be cautious. We want to assess the patient. We want to see if the patient is responding or not his skin or the tolerance levels. Localize the pain. If the when you are pinching, the patient looks at the part and localizes it very well. So that is grade 5, and obeys the command actively. The patient does everything that you ask him to do or ask her to do. That is termed as grade 6. So total score, as we can see, is 3 to 15. It is not from 0. It is 3 to 15. Anything below or equal to 8 out of 15 is severe brain injury, as we had already demarcated this. 9 to 12 is moderate, and 13 to 15 is mild brain injury. 13 to 15 normally will not require much intervention, but less than 12 will require severe interventions. Coming to another scale, like GCS, there is one more scale specifically used not for alertness or consciousness level, but for cognitive functions, which is termed as RLA. Yes, RLA, that is Rancho Los Amigos level of cognitive function scale. Yes, there are various portions. There are 8 categories within this. We are going to see which are they, and we have to remember why they are important also. So examines the cognitive and behavioral recovery as emerging from coma. So this is the one of the scale which will tell you if the patient's cognition is normal or not. આપણે આટલું બધું કીધું mathematical problems, normal day to day activities, આ તે બધું કરવાનું ઈ cognition ને કહેવાય, પણ cognition assess કઈ રીતે કરવું. So this is one of the scale which will give you cognitive and behavioral recovery of a patient. Useful for treatment planning. So according to the outcomes that we obtain, we have various treatments regarding the same for traumatic brain injury patients. There are 8 subcategories within it, and it is very reliable and valid tool we use for cognitive functioning. Together with GCS, most widely used whenever we wish to do any cognitive functioning or cognitive assessment, we always use RLA LOCF. Yes, these are the 8 categories: no response, generalized response, localized response, confused response, confused inappropriate, confused appropriate, automatic appropriate, and purposeful appropriate. 8 categories that we will see in detail. Just a second, let me just pull up another screen. So we'll be from the Bhagavad Gita for physical therapist, that is Sullivan. Physical rehabilitation, yes, it is given. The whole chapter is given, and all the things that I'm telling you that we are learning through the slides also, they are all present within the chapter. Yes. So this is Rancho Loss Amigo's level of cognitive function, LOCF. Yes, I hope everyone is able to see this. Yeah. Okay. So first is no response. No matter what you do, no matter what you ask the patient, no matter which stimuli you provide, specifically sensory stimuli, pinching and all those things, the patient will not respond no matter what. Yes. Then comes generalized response. So no matter where you pinch, upper limb માં pinch કરો, lower limb માં pinch કરો, ગમે ત્યાં pinch કરો, એનો એક જ response હોય. That is generalized response. આખા body માં ગમે ત્યાં pinch કરો, એનો response તો એક જ આવશે. Stimuli ગમે ત્યાં હોય. Yes, this patient reacts inconsistently and non-purposefully to stimuli in a non-specific manner. Responses are limited and often the same regardless of the stimulus present. ગમે ત્યાં તમે stimulus આપો, response એક જ આવશે. That is generalized response. General. Third, localized response. That means the patient reacts specifically but inconsistently to stimuli. એટલે 5 વાર તમે એક ને એક જગ્યા, say for example forearm માં pinch કરો છો, 3 વખત ઈ withdraw કરશે, 2 વખત probably extend કરશે. Yes, so it is inconsistent but it is still local કે upper limb માં થાય છે right side તો ત્યાં જ કરશે patient. Yes, so that is localized response. Now comes important 3 ones. You have to understand this. Confused agitated, confused inappropriate, and confused appropriate. So first is confused agitated. As the name suggests, the patient will be confused first of all and will be agitated always. Yes, agitated, that means short temper or anxious. Yes, so whenever you give 2 or 3 stimuli, then there will be, you can say the patient will get angry or the response will increase in magnitude, you can say. Yes, and the patient will not forcefully, or we can say the patient will not behave appropriately, that is he will behave bizarre. So patient is heightened state of activity, behavior is bizarre and non-purposeful relative to immediate environment, does not discriminate among patient or objects, is unable to cooperate directly with treatment efforts. So this is confused agitated. Agitated, that means the patient is short tempered, anytime he or she can become mad. Yes, so that is confused agitated. Confused inappropriate, that means patient is able to respond to simple commands fairly consistently. Yes, simple commands to stand up, sit down, do this, do that, patient will able to do it perfectly. But if you give complex command, go out of the class, yes, complex command involves multiple things, multiple motor tasks, that the patient will not be able to do. Yes, so that is confused inappropriate. Next, confused appropriate. As the name suggests, confused as well as appropriate. Patient is still confused, but whenever you give complex command also, they'll be able to do it without any doubt. Yes. So patient shows goal directed behavior but is dependent on external input or direction. એટલે તમારે કેવું હોય કે બહાર જાઓ, that means you have to show a finger directing the way. So they will be following it, but still they need some external help or external direction. Then 7 and 8, automatic appropriate and purposeful appropriate. Automatic appropriate, as the name suggests, it is appropriate and it is still automatic, not purposeful. મારે કરવું હોય ત્યારે automatic. That is, patient appears appropriate and oriented with the hospital and home setting, goes through daily routine automatically. When the patient is doing daily activities routinely, the patient responds to that. તમે રોજ સવારે ઉઠશે, બ્રશ કરશે, રેડી થશે, ક્લિનિકે આવશે, after in evening lunch કરશે, evening માં say for example he is a business, he will go there and everything they will do. So sorry for that. Yeah, so Automatic appropriate means patient appears appropriate, oriented with the hospital and home setting, goes through daily routine. જે પણ daily routine activities હતા easily કરી શકશે. But if you change the activities, that will create a havoc and the patient will not be able to cope up. Yes, તો સવારે ઉઠવાનું, બ્રશ કરવાનું, રેડી થઈને ક્લિનિક જવાનું. If you ask the patient to go to office in the morning, he will not be able to do, or he will become confused at that time. Yes, so that is automatic appropriate. Automatic appropriate means simple thing, જે schedule set છે એ easily કરી લેશે, એના plus minus તમે કંઈ પણ કરાવશો, he will not be able to, he or she will not be able to do. And purposeful appropriate, that is patient is able to and integrate the past and recent event, aware of the responsive to environment, shows carryover for new learning, needs to no supervision of one activity. So this is normal. Normally what you are, that is the same thing. Student આવ્યા છે? 5 મિનિટ બેસવાનું. Yes, so that is automatic appropriate and purposeful appropriate. All the things, it should be very clear. Whenever traumatic brain injury is asked, this scale is a must to be written. Yes, no response, generalized response, localized response, confused matron, agitated, inappropriate, appropriate, automatic appropriate, and purposeful appropriate. So this is what we wanted to learn about Rancholos Amigos level of cognitive functioning. Okay. Yes. Glasgow Coma Outscale used in prognostic study at discharge and 6 months to 1 year after injury. Say for example, the patient is having trauma today, yes, and he is hospitalized. Today you check for GCS, you check for other measures, and Rancholos Amigos, of course, level of cognitive scale, LOCS. So that you check after 1 year or after 6 months, the patient is coming to you. At that time, you use another scale, Glasgow outcome scale, GOS. Yes, first was Glasgow Coma scale. This is Glasgow outcome scale. This has 5 sub portion: dead, vegetative, severely disabled, moderately disabled, and good recovery. Now, આજે accident થયું, patient hospitalized છે, after 6 months you are seeing the patient. Yes, say for example you are seeing the patient in August, next August, around 8 to 9 months. Yes, so at that time on 23rd August when you are checking and you see the patient is dead, so that is first category. Other possibility, vegetative, that is from the coma the patient is out but still in altered consciousness level state. Third, severely disabled, the patient is not able to move, also is bedridden or wheelchair bound. Grade 4, moderately disabled, that be able to do some activities on his own but not able to be independent. And grade 5 is good recovery, patient is independent and has moved to work independently in all the portions of his life, may that be personal or professional. Okay, with this we are completing traumatic brain injury. In traumatic brain injury, very less amount of drugs can be utilized. More of the drugs that we use in stroke will be used here also in traumatic brain injury. That is why I have not included the list of the drugs that we have already seen in stroke. The only additional thing here will be hospitalization, and during hospitalization again the drugs will be same: antiplatelet drugs, antidepressants, anticoagulation drugs. All this will be the initial line of treatment, and later on the patient has to maintain other comorbidities, say for example hypertension or diabetes. If the patient has those, then there are chances the patient may require medication for long term, otherwise they will not require. Yes, and whenever you are learning the same in 6th semester for stroke physical rehabilitation part, the same you will be applicable to traumatic brain injury patients also. Yes, any questions you have, please write it in the chat right now. Yes or no, any questions? Everyone should reply. Okay. Fine. So we'll keep it till here. Next lecture we'll start a new topic. Yes, a smaller one probably related to a famous personality. I hope you will like it. Fine. Okay. Have you taken the attendance, Purva?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So we'll keep it till here. Meeting again probably at 3:15. Yes, I'll share a new ID for the same. Okay. Hope you have a good day. Be safe.
Thank you, sir.